Hey there. In today's episode, I want to talk about hanging on and letting go. You see, I want you to think about and imagine in your brain, since we haven't been able to get to any playgrounds or anything in the recent um, and just what's been going on here, is monkey bars. And so when I was a little kid, I used to love the monkey bars. And the thing that I loved the most was when you would climb on and that reach and keeping your eye on the next bar and the stamina that it takes to keep yourself hanging while you're also letting go and reaching for the next bar to get on. And I think that the monkey bars is such a powerful analogy for what we're going through right now and what's happening in the world. And so if you're listening to this episode as it went live, it's going live in the final weeks of April, where we're still super in the midst of this pandemic of COVID-19.
Hi, I'm Connie Wolshansky, founder of Schools of Excellence. The world has been shaken by this pandemic, and the effects that we're seeing in our schools are tremendous. Over the past couple of weeks, I've been on the phone with hundreds of school leaders from all over the world, dealing with the immediate aftermath of what's happening. Staff on unemployment, furloughing staff, school closures, virtual learning, parent conversations, and so much more. And yet at Schools of Excellence, we're always focused on the ripple effect. What will be the effects of this crisis on our children, on our families, and on our schools? We've already seen a 65% increase in child abuse, over 80% increase in domestic violence and abuse, and the numbers are only climbing. What's happening now will go far beyond the immediate crisis, and that is why we have to prepare now. And so that's why I've created the Schools in Crisis interview series, which is a 5-day online virtual series where I'm interviewing industry experts and having candid conversations with them about the effects that will be in our schools on the social, emotional, mental, physical, and financial health of you, your families, your staff, the children, and the overall culture in your school. We go live on May 10th. And so you could click the link below to sign up. Thank you, and I look forward to having you join us. To learn more about the Schools in Crisis interview series, go to khani.me/schoolsincrisis or click on the link in the show notes below. Right when the pandemic broke out, I was actually immediately diagnosed with COVID-19. And I was extremely ill and very sick for a little over 10 days. And then there was a 3-day time break. And then my husband got sick and he's still recovering. He has a lingering cough a little bit, but he's much more on the mend. And I spent the first 3 weeks of the whole pandemic breakout in a lot of pain and a lot of suffering, being sick and suffering tremendous grief. Both my husband and I lost very dear friends and mentors in our life. We had a friend of ours who lost one of their babies in childbirth because she had went into premature labor. And for those of you that know me and know our world, I live in New York, which is a war zone right now. And being there with myself and my family was extremely heavy. And it was so difficult for me to function and lift myself out of the fog. And I kept telling myself, like, I'm not being myself. I'm not stepping up. I'm not being the leader that I want to be. I'm not servicing my family and my clients. I'm not being there for people. And it took some time for me to step back and reflect and say, why am I not? What is standing in my way? Why am I not getting back up again? And I realized that the time period that I was in with being sick and then my husband being sick and all of the grief was just too much for me to even rise up from. And when I finally started to pull myself out of that, I realized that what I wanted to hang on to was the sense of belonging, love, and safety that our home has always been for our children and for myself. And the first thing that I said to myself was, okay, I need to do this. I need to bring back belonging, safety, love. I need to bring this back into my house.
And so the first question that I always ask myself when I have a problem is, who can help me? I never say, oh, I got to figure this out. I got to do this on my own. Let me grind, let me halt, let me, hustle my way through it. First, I ask, who can help me? Who can help me do this? And I reach out to my network and I reach out to people because I am always smarter as a collective. So just a really funny story in where this kind of came from, in me seeing asking for help as a tremendous strength and kind of like a default of what I do. So in this summer, this past summer, so this summer we're going to be celebrating 11 years. Last summer we celebrated our 10-year anniversary. And when Mayor and I were newly married, I think it was about 2 months in, and the light bulb in the bathroom went out in our apartment. And so Mayor comes home from work and I'm like, hey, we need to call an electrician. And Mayor's like, why? Did one of the wirings go out? Like, what happened? And I was like, oh no, the light bulb in the bathroom went out. Now, that was like the first and only time my husband laughed so hard at me that like, I was like, what in the world did I just say? He could not stop laughing. And finally, when he stops laughing, I'm like, what is so funny? He's like, honey, you just said we need an electrician to change a light bulb in the bathroom. I can change the light bulb in the bathroom. So I'm like, what do you mean? Like, when the light bulb goes out, you call an electrician. So while he's laughing and talking, he's dragging this chair. He sets it up in the bathroom right next to the toilet, and he unscrews the thing, put it up, boom, 3 seconds later, the light bulb is changed. There's light. And I'm like, oh my God, I have married like Superman. And so we're having this conversation and he's like, I really need you to explain this to me. Like, what's the deal with the electrician? I'm like, okay, in my house, my dad and my brothers never did any handiwork. Like when the toilet was stuffed, we called a plumber. No one ever plunged the toilet. When the outlets were out, when the light bulbs were out, we called an electrician who came and fixed the light bulbs. When the smoke detectors died, we called the fire department and they came and changed the batteries. I am not joking. Okay. For those of you that are watching and thinking that is not true, it is 100% true. Like I grew up in a house where you called and reached for help and you asked the experts right away. You didn't try to do anything yourself. So the reason I'm sharing that is because while it sounds crazy to call the fire department to change the batteries of your smoke detectors, and it is, we change our own batteries of our own smoke detectors now, there is that lining of, I learned that you always ask for help from the experts. You find out who is amazing at this and who can I ask for help from. So that is what I do. So I right away reached out to my mentor and I said, hey, how am I doing this? How am I getting back on track? And I had a choice to make. I could have either stayed down and stay stuck or stood back up again. And in schools of excellence, excellence means choosing to show up better than you did 5 minutes ago. Choosing to show up better than you did 5 minutes ago. That's what excellence is. So I said to myself, okay, if I'm at the center of the ripple effect, if everything starts with me, then my actions have a massive impact on my family and on my team. But I was still I was really down and depressed and anxious because everything that I leaned on for my morning routine and this like routine and these rituals were gone. I couldn't wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning. My body was barely breathing to walk from my bed to the bathroom. And I didn't have any of the structure because my cleaning lady was gone and now I had to do homeschooling and my husband was home now all the time. And it was so crazy. And so I had to really figure it out and ask myself, what am I hanging on to? What am I letting go of? So today I want to share with you what are the top things that I'm hanging on to and what I have let go of during this time. So let's get started with number one. One, what I am hanging on to is my gratitude. Every single morning, for those of you that watched our episode on my morning routine, and if you haven't, go back and check our episode on morning routine that I have with me and my kids. But one of the parts of my morning routine is gratitude, and I have not let go of that. That is something I'm hanging on to. Every morning I wake up and I write in my journal, What am I grateful for that happened yesterday? What am I grateful for today? So that is my gratitude practice. Then I really consciously choose the word that I want to anchor me that day. So one of the things that I talk about in my difficult conversation template is choosing a word that anchors your difficult conversation. So one of the words that I use when I enter difficult conversations is humility. I want to enter this conversation with humility. And so during this time, every day I wake up and say, okay, how am I anchoring myself today? Am I choosing to be courageous today? Am I choosing bravery today? Am I choosing patience? What am I choosing today to show up as for today? And many times it's the same word day after day. And sometimes something really hard happened the day before. And today it's like, today I need to be courageous. I need to choose courage. I need to choose to be courageous in all of these conversations and all of the things that are going to happen to me today. So that's the second thing that I do. And that is something that I'm constantly hanging on to. The third thing that I'm hanging on to and that I'm mindful of right now is, what are my triggers when I'm feeling anxious? What do I do when I'm feeling anxious and stressed out? Because we all have moments of anxiety and stress in a good day when the economy is booming. So especially during a time like this, where anxiety and stress is even higher, what are your triggers? So for me, one of the things that happens as an effect of me feeling anxious is I start fixing everything. I start jumping in and I'm like, oh, I need to go fix this. I need to go take care of this. And I want it fast and I want it furious. I want it quick and I want it efficient. Move, move, move. And that's what I kind of lean towards. Now, the problem with that is that I'm undoing all the work that I've done of the last few years to not fix, to make space for the pause, to navigate during conversations. And so I don't want to jump into the fixer mode. So one of the strategies that I've employed for myself is, the moment I'm finding myself in fixer mode, where I'm like, okay, this needs to be fixed and this needs to be done and this needs to be taken out of the freezer and now we need to go and we need to clean up this garbage can. I take myself, rain or shine, cold, I don't care the weather, and I get myself outside. I just get my body outside in fresh air and move around, because it immediately shifts my psychology, it immediately shifts my perspective, and I come back in and I'm feeling a lot better, even if it's for like 2 or 3 minutes. Super, super powerful. And so my action step for you today with this specifically is, what happens when you're feeling anxious? Do you hide? Do you go into fixer mode? Do you go into judgment mode? What happens? Because having that awareness is going to be tremendous in helping you rise up as a leader during this time. The last thing that we're holding on to are our breakfast dates. So for those of you that have known me for a while, one of the things that my husband and I always did before this time is Friday mornings we would go out for breakfast. So I wouldn't work on Friday, and every Friday we would go out for breakfast together, and that was our date. And so we can't do breakfast dates now. All the restaurants are closed and we don't have babysitters. So one of the things that we're doing is we're kind of re-navigating what breakfast dates looks like now. So our night date that we did, we weren't able to do a breakfast date because we have to wait for the kids to be sleeping. But one of the things we did is we have a liquor store actually just right across the street. And so Mayor went, we love Smirnoff Ice. So he got 2 Smirnoff Ice and a card from Target, like a nice thing. Wasn't a thank you card, it was a nice card. And we just hung out and just had something different and something cold and fresh and, you know, exciting that came into the house, and had a really great conversation. And that's what it looked like last night. We'll see what it looks like, you know, in the coming nights. But what we're doing is we're committed to hanging on to that, but making sure that it looks differently and reflective of the time right now. So now let's go into the 3 things that I'm letting go of. Okay. So the things that I'm hanging on to is my gratitude. I am hanging on to choosing what is my word of the day and how am I anchoring myself. I am choosing to hang on to the fact that I need to understand what my triggers are so I know what's making me anxious, and I'm holding on to breakfast dates. What I'm letting go of is my expectation that I have to be somewhere every single time at a specific time. I am trying my best to honor times and meetings and stuff like that. But I also have to be aware of the fact that I have 4 kids right on top of me. This is my little office down here. And there is no way that I could always say that I'm going to be in every single place on time. And so I'm letting go of that expectation of myself in service of the fact that I'm a mom first before everything else. So that is the first thing I'm letting go of. The second thing I'm letting go of is any grudges or expectations that my kids or my husband need to do something. There are no shoulds. Should do this, should do that. There's no shoulding on anyone. No shoulds. I'm letting go of all shoulds. We can have conversations about how I would like you to show up tomorrow, but there are no, you should have done that, you should have done this, you should have done that, you should have seen that, no shoulds. We're letting go of the shoulds. And the final thing that I'm letting go of is perfectionism. And while I've always let go of perfectionism, now more than ever, I am letting go of it completely. And it's always about progress, not perfection. So as long as I'm making progress every day, every hour, and I'm getting better and I'm working towards constantly becoming that better version of myself, then it's great. Then it's great. And I'm letting go of the perfection. So I want to end with this final quote. And it's one of my favorite quotes from Brené Brown, which is, the opposite of scarcity is not abundance. It's enough. The opposite of scarcity is not abundance. It's enough. I am enough. You are enough. We are all enough in what we're doing. And I want to hear from you. What are you going to hang on to during this time? What are those habits, those rituals, those routines that you're going to hang on to? And what are you going to let go of that is not serving you, that is not serving your school, that is not serving your family? Please let me know in the comments, send us an email, post in the Facebook group. We want to hear from you. Let's stay together as a community. And the other thing I wanted to share is we are doing an incredible virtual interview series called Schools in Crisis. And I am interviewing over 18 experts on the social, emotional, mental, physical, and financial effects of this pandemic right now. And you can sign up for free by going to hani.me/schools-in-crisis, and all of the links are in the show notes below, and would love to have you join us. It's free for a limited time. We're interviewing incredible experts on all things that this pandemic is going to have an effect on. So I hope you'll join us. Thanks so much for watching today's episode, and I look forward to hearing from you. If you like this video, make sure to subscribe using the bell so that you get notifications when we release videos twice a week.